Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're re-diving into one of the most audacious military campaigns in history, Hannibal Barca's legendary crossing of the Alps. This isn't just a story about a long, cold march. It's a tale of strategic genius, unimaginable hardship, and the moment a single general brought the mighty Roman Republic to its knees. Our story begins in 218 BC. Rome and Carthage are the two superpowers of the Mediterranean, locked in a bitter rivalry. The First Punic War had ended with a Roman victory, leaving Carthage weakened but simmering with a desire for revenge. And nobody felt that desire more acutely than Hannibal. As a boy, his father, Hamilcar Barca, a great general himself, allegedly made him swear an oath of eternal hatred toward Rome. This oath would define his life. When the Second Punic War erupted, Rome expected the fight to be in Spain or Africa. They controlled the seas, so a direct invasion of Italy seemed impossible. Their plan was simple: bottle up Hannibal in Spain and launch their own attack on Carthage. But Hannibal was a master of the unexpected. He knew a direct naval assault was out of the question. So, he decided to do the unthinkable: march his army, including war elephants, over the massive snow-capped wall of the Alps. Imagine the scene: an army of over 50,000 infantry, 9,000 cavalry, and nearly 40 war elephants setting off from Spain. They first had to cross the Pyrenees and fight their way through hostile Gallic tribes in what is now southern France. Roman intelligence was slow to react. By the time the consul Publius Cornelius Scipio arrived in Gaul to intercept him, Hannibal was already at the Rhine River. In a brilliant maneuver, Hannibal sent a detachment upstream to cross and attack the Gauls from the rear, while his main force crossed on rafts and boats, even floating his elephants across. Scipio arrived just 3 days too late. Hannibal had vanished, heading towards the Alps. The true ordeal was just beginning. It was late autumn, and the weather was turning. The path was treacherous, often just a narrow ledge on a sheer cliff face. Local mountain tribes, seeing a rich army laden with supplies, launched constant ambushes. They would roll boulders down from the heights, sending men and animals plummeting into the abyss. Hannibal, always leading from the front, had to fight for every inch of ground, securing high passes to protect his column. The physical toll was immense. Men and animals suffered from extreme cold, starvation, and exhaustion. The elephants, not native to this climate, struggled immensely on the icy paths. Many slipped and fell to their deaths. After 15 days of this brutal ascent and descent, what was left of Hannibal's army finally stumbled into the Po Valley in northern Italy. He had made it, but at a staggering cost. His force was reduced to roughly 26,000 men. He had lost almost half his army in the mountains. His grand gamble seemed on the verge of failure, but this is where Hannibal's true genius shines. Rome, still thinking he was a distant threat, had only stationed relatively green troops in northern Italy. They were completely unprepared for his sudden appearance. In the first major clash, the Battle of the Ticinus, Hannibal's superior cavalry, particularly his Numidian light horse, shattered the Roman cavalry and wounded the consul Scipio himself. It was a small battle, but a huge psychological victory. Gallic tribes, who hated Roman rule, began to flock to his banner, swelling his ranks with fresh, motivated soldiers. Just a few weeks later came the Battle of the Trebia. The new Roman commander Sempronius Longus was arrogant and eager for a quick victory. Hannibal played him like a fiddle. On a bitterly cold December morning, Hannibal sent his Numidian cavalry to harass the Roman camp, luring them across the icy Trebia River without having had breakfast. While the freezing, hungry Roman legions engaged his main force, Hannibal sprung his trap. He had hidden 2,000 of his best men under his brother Mago in a concealed ditch. At the critical moment, they charged into the Roman rear. The legions, attacked from the front and back, completely collapsed. It was a devastating defeat for Rome. In just a few short months, Hannibal had gone from a half-dead survivor of the Alps to the master of northern Italy. The following spring, in 217 BC, Hannibal continued his march south. To avoid the main Roman armies guarding the standard routes, he once again chose the unexpected path, a 4-day march through the supposedly impassable Arno marshes. This journey was even more horrific than the Alps. Men waded through waist-deep water, plagued by insects and disease. Hannibal himself, riding his last surviving elephant, contracted an infection and lost a sight in one eye. But again, the gamble paid off. He emerged in Etruria, completely bypassing the Roman armies and threatening the road to Rome itself. The new consul, Gaius Flaminius, was another hot-headed commander who rushed to pursue Hannibal. This led them to Lake Trasimene. The setting was perfect for an ambush. A narrow road ran along the northern shore of the lake, with a line of hills directly beside it. Hannibal concealed his entire army in the forested hills overlooking the road. As the long Roman column marched into the pass, shrouded in the morning mist from the lake, Hannibal gave the signal. His forces descended from the hills, sealing both ends of the pass and crashing into the Roman flank. The Romans were caught completely by surprise, trapped between the lake and the enemy. The battle turned into a slaughter. Over 15,000 Romans, including the consul Flaminius, were killed. Another 15,000 were captured. Hannibal's army suffered minimal losses. The news sent a shockwave of panic through Rome. For the first time, the city itself felt truly vulnerable. In the face of this unprecedented crisis, Rome appointed a dictator, Quintus Fabius Maximus. Fabius understood that he couldn't beat Hannibal in a pitched battle. Instead, he implemented a new, frustrating strategy. He would shadow Hannibal's army, cutting off his supplies and launching small-scale guerrilla attacks, but avoiding a direct confrontation at all costs. This earned him the nickname Conctator, or the Delayer. While strategically sound, it was deeply unpopular with the Roman people and politicians, who saw it as cowardly. They wanted a decisive victory to restore Roman honor. By 216 BC, the pressure to fight was immense. Rome amassed the largest army it had ever fielded, a massive force of some 86,000 men, and put it under the command of two new consuls, Pallas and Varro. They cornered Hannibal near a small supply depot called Cannae. What followed was the Battle of Cannae, Hannibal's masterpiece and one of the greatest tactical victories in military history. He arranged his army in a unique formation. In the center, he placed his weakest troops, the Gauls and Spanish, in a thin crescent-shaped line that bulged out toward the Romans. On the flanks he positioned his elite, veteran African infantry. The Roman plan was simple: punch through the weak center with their massed legions. As the battle began, everything went according to Roman plan. Their legions pushed forward, and Hannibal's center began to slowly give way, bending inward. The Roman soldiers surged into the gap, convinced they were winning. But this was all part of Hannibal's design. The crescent had now inverted, drawing the Romans deeper and deeper into a trap. At that moment, Hannibal's elite African infantry, which had been held in reserve on the flanks, turned inward and slammed into the exposed sides of the Roman legions. Meanwhile, Hannibal's superior cavalry had already defeated their Roman counterparts and circled around to attack the Roman rear. The Roman army was now completely surrounded on all sides, packed so tightly together they could barely lift their swords to fight. The battle devolved into a massacre. By the end of the day, as many as 70,000 Romans lay dead on the field, including the consul Paulus and 80 senators. It was the single bloodiest day in Roman history. Hannibal had annihilated an army almost twice his size. After Cannae, Hannibal's top general Hannibal famously told him, "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal. You do not know how to use one." He urged an immediate march on the city of Rome. Hannibal hesitated. His army was exhausted, and he lacked the siege equipment needed to take the fortified city. Whether he made the right choice is still debated by historians today. Instead, he spent the next decade in Italy, trying to break the Roman Confederation apart. But despite his incredible victories, Rome's will never broke. They returned to the Fabian strategy, slowly grinding him down, while another Roman general, Scipio Africanus, took the fight to Spain and then directly to Carthage. This ultimately forced Hannibal to return to Africa to defend his homeland, where he was finally defeated by Scipio at the Battle of Zama. Even in defeat, Hannibal's legacy was secure. His journey across the Alps and his string of brilliant victories against a superior foe cemented his place as one of the greatest military commanders of all time. He was a master of strategy, psychology, and improvisation, who brought the world's greatest power to the brink of collapse with an army bound to him by sheer loyalty and respect. Thank you so much for joining us on this epic journey through history. What do you think? Was Hannibal's march across the Alps the most daring military feat ever? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a new story. We'll see you next time.